Well, good day and welcome to you. It is May the 16th. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you happen to be. My name is Gary Willing, and as always, I want to welcome you to Search for Signs and just point out if you are hearing this information for the first time, perhaps, or maybe you've heard it a few times, and you want to see if there's anything to this for yourself, I do think the best thing to do is to educate yourself better about it in some kind of way. And I have provided links to websites that I think give really good background information for you to start your own investigation in that way. And then you can take as long or as little as you want to, do your investigation and so forth. So hopefully you'll look into it. Now, I do have a comment to cover. And ironically, it's about me commenting on comments. So let's take a look at it and let's talk about it and see what we come up with. It's coming from Dewey Stace. Why comment on comments? Waste of everyone's time, in my opinion. Well, thank you for your comment and your feedback on me commenting on comments, Dewey Stace. But I did want to talk about this. Okay, so I started these videos some years ago, and about, was it 2.5 years ago maybe, I think, I started really focusing on addressing people's comments. Most of the time I would just leave them up, And I found that it's really helped the discussion by addressing comments and by answering questions. I wish we were all kind of in a classroom where we could discuss it back and forth. I think it would be a lot better than just me reading out a comment, and then trying to address it in that way. But, I know for myself, I've learned a lot about this information by trying to answer people's questions and by addressing people's comments. I do see where you're coming from, where you said it's a waste of everyone's time, especially for most people who perhaps are closed to this information. But is it a waste of time? Now 9 times out of 10, I'm not addressing the comment, especially when it's of a religious nature, for that person who made the comment, because I know that they probably didn't hear a video anyway when they commented, let alone take the time to hear the next video where I talk about their comment. You know what I mean? So I'm doing it. I'm really commenting for everybody else. Now, unfortunately, most of the comments that come my way are of a religious nature. Most of them are very negative about what we talk about here. But is it a waste of time, really? Even for those people who are really closed to this information. I do think that this information is shocking to most people, provocative, but, crazy at the minimum for most people. And I was resistant too when I first heard it. So I understand why people put up their hands and say, there's nothing to this or whatever like this. Now, there are some people who take great strides and try to continue to comment in a negative way. And I have to kind of address it that way. Most of the time, I don't even comment on the comments. Actually, if you look at the majority of the times that people comment, I don't even respond. I just let them say what they say and I kind of move on. But there are times where I want to address it because I do think it helps the conversation. Now, you said in your previous comment that you had actually met Benjamin Creme. You were inspired by his life. I do think it's important to talk about this information. Even at this stage where Maitreya is already out on TV in the way that he has been, I think it's important to talk about it. I think it's important to talk about it with the people in your life who are interested maybe in this, or at least interested in peace, interested in the environment in some way, talking about Maitreya's priorities perhaps. You can approach this information in however you want to approach it. Now I do, and I have said this before, I found it rather interesting, and it was unexpected when I started these videos some years ago, and I started noticing people were commenting. And like I said, most of them, especially earlier on, were really against what I had to say here. But some of those people came back a few months later or a year later and commented again, or even take the time to ask a question about it. Or their comments might have been a little softer the second or third time than it was the first time they commented. It's not every time, and some of them, most of the time, they do comment again, and they're just as harsh as they were the first time. But it makes me wonder, why are they coming back? It's not because these are really entertaining videos. There's something to this information that is touching them in some kind of way. They might not see it that way. They might be very resistant to it. They might be totally against it, but it's hitting them in some kind of way. So I don't think it's a waste of time. And then the other thing is, Benjamin Creme told me one time that just by seeing an image of Maitreya, he then can now enter that person's life. If you look at the background of these videos, there's an image of Maitreya as he appeared in Nairobi, Kenya. Just seeing that image of him will allow him to do that. And there's the thing about this information is, for some people, they're very reactionary to it. Other people respond perhaps not knowing why, but it inspires them to do something in some kind of way. But this is just the beginning stages of it. We haven't really seen and recognized Maitreya on TV yet. And once people start to recognize what he's saying and start to really experience him directly, whether it's in person or on TV or on the internet or whatever, it's going to change the hearts and minds of everyone. I mean, that's the whole point, And even these people who are totally reactionary, it's going to start to change them too in that way. And I'm hoping, it's just my hope, that some of these people who are totally against this information, who comment in a negative way, they're working this information out early and the reactions earlier than they would if they had just heard it for the first time coming from Maitreya. And it might make it easier for them. I'm hoping that it might make it easier for them in the future when they actually recognize Maitreya to actually take the time to hear him. Maybe, maybe not. It's totally up to them. I'm not attached to it either way, but that's just my hope. So hopefully that kind of addresses. But like I said, if you know anything about this information, which it seems like you do, it's important to talk about it with people. And even Benjamin Creme's master said this in an article, and I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it. And I'm sure, some weeks from now I'll read the article and go, oh, there it was. But he said and he suggested to those people who had been talking about this information for a long time to circle back and talk to people who were against it or resistant to it years ago, because they might not be quite as against it or as resistant to it now. So there's hope. I guess is my point. But like I said, to kind of finish this off, yes, I wish we were talking about the priorities of Maitreya more and not so much the religious side of it, because I don't view this information as religious. But I also know that the vast majority of people who hear this, especially for the first time, and who actually have the schmaltz enough to comment on a channel like this, are coming from a religious nature. So anyway, hopefully that addresses it and helps. But thank you for the comment, Dewey Stace. Take care. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.